Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sylvia D'Silva. Well, in today's video, you will be watching me paint roses again. This is the first rose that I'm painting. You have seen me paint 3 roses in the previous video. If you haven't, I'll have a card pop up so you can check that out. So part 2 of the video, the first one is a realistic rose and it's almost the same. You can see I got a little used to painting roses by the time I made this one. So this was pretty quick compared to the ones I made before. So just to remind those who haven't watched my first video, I'm using Portrait Pink by Liquitex Basics and I'm using Crimson Lake by Camel Artists Acrylics. It happens to be my favorite crimson color. So I'm also using white, titanium white by Liquitex Basics for the highlights. So when you're painting roses, I am mentioning this again, you have to remember to blend wet on wet, and that is the only way you can get that smooth transition, the perfect blending and the perfect shading on each petal. So here I'm not working in layers, I'm just going over it really quick. You either start with Portrait Pink or start with the crimson and slowly go lighter. So the edges of the petals are white and the insides, the darker areas are crimson. So stick to one color palette in one painting when you're painting roses. If you want to see a slower version of this video, it's available on Patreon. I have a Patreon channel where you can pay $4 a month and watch slower videos, real-time videos. Well, you have to remember to add details on each petal and take your own time. Honestly, I don't like roses, so I don't know why I wanted to give myself a challenge, so I decided to paint roses. And as if it wasn't enough, I challenged myself and added 6 roses in that painting. So by the time I was finished with the 4th one, I was completely restless and I just wanted to get it over with. So remember to shade well. I do have a video on how to blend acrylic paints. The links will be in the description below. I'll also have a card pop-up. You can check that out. I'm also making a tutorial, half an hour tutorial on blending on Patreon, on my Patreon channel. So you can go ahead and watch that if you want to. Well, next I started off with the remaining 2 roses, and as I told you, I was completely restless and I wanted to get this done really fast. So what I did was I took a flat brush and I added white on half of the brush and I added crimson on the other half, and you can see that with one stroke I am creating that blended effect. I'm getting 2 colors. I'm getting white on the top and crimson on the bottom. And I was not looking at any reference photo here. I was just winging it. So when I'm making this white here, you can see I'm just bending the flat brush in an angle so that I get only the white, and then slowly blending it out with the same brush again. So this rose was very quick. I was going for a loose style and it came out perfectly just the way I wanted it. So try that out. Use a flat brush and use white on one side and crimson on the other side, and you'll see it come out in double colors like that. The best brush to use would be an angled brush. I expect it would work much better than a flat brush. I didn't have a big enough angled brush, so I just used a flat brush. So you can see how quickly I'm going over it, how quickly the petals are getting done. So if you're not looking for a very realistic look, this is the way to go. And you can see how I'm doing it in an orderly fashion. Like I started with the outer petals and then slowly did the inner ones. You can do this the other way around as well. Start from the inside and then slowly do the outer petals. So now I am going in with white. I'm adding white as highlights with a bit of portrait pink. This is not just titanium white. So you'll see each layer how it makes a difference, and this was so quick. The first layer got done really quickly. So once I've added the white highlights, I will then go over with the darker shades, which is the insides. So you will notice in a rose the petals overlap. There's one petal, then the next one overlaps that, and so on. It's kind of like a spiral but with overlapping petals. So you'll see here I'm going in with crimson for the edges, for the insides, the darks. And then now I'm going over it with titanium white for a few highlights. Notice that I'm just doing this on the edges. And then wherever I notice that it's a bit too much, I go over with crimson and blend it out and leave just the edges white. So practice will take you a long way. So you see how quickly that rose got done, and it was very easy. So the next one, this is the easiest I've done, and it is at an angle and quite in the background. So I just went over with a darker shade and then used portrait pink to just do the edges of the petals like that. One petal overlapping the other. And then I'm going over it with titanium white. So if you're going for an abstract look, this is the easiest, quickest rose you can do. So if you enjoyed this video, do give it a thumbs up and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe if you haven't already done so. You'll find the subscribe button on the top left. You'll also find a link to my blog on the bottom right. You can subscribe to my blog posts there. All my social media links are in the description below. Do check them out. I am quite active on Instagram.